do you both think the audience will think of this television series?
It depends on what class you're looking at. I mean, there could be the upper class who sort of don't really want any of this in their lives. You know, they're like, I don't want to be aware of these problems. You'll have the lower class, which we'd fit into. And I think they'd go, wow, you know, finally someone's upped and done something about this. So I think that's sort of what I think the audience looking at it.
I'm hoping that people who do watch this have their eyes open when they walk up the street. To at least that's a beginning, is to open their eyes to see what's in their area and, you know, who's about. And there are going to be people who are going to sit there and, you know, oh, it's his own fault. I'm sure there's going to be, a crowd of people that sit there and say, look, you know, this one, they wouldn't have ended up there if they didn't want to and stuff like that. And also I think if families sit down and watch this with their kids at the end, I can only hope they embrace their kid.
I find time in you. I rest well with you. In my heart, I'm yours, you're mine. Until the end of time. Until the end of time.
Yeah, well, I'm not on anyone's side. Just telling a fact people don't hear.
Everybody has a life to explain. Everybody in this whole wide world, doesn't matter what culture we come from, there is a meaning to life.
When I first got involved, I heard from someone in the Armadale Refuge. They rang me and said, yeah, look, there's this film crew coming up and they're doing a few film things and they need some help and stuff like that. And at first I was like, oh, fuck that, it's rubbish. But eventually I went, I'll go and check it out. And so me and my ex went down and I saw you guys out the front of a youth centre. I just walked up and, come on, let's do it. What are we doing? Don't waste my time, kind of thing.
So how should I come into it?
Action.
All right, the bridge I'm at, it's where I was sleeping for a while I was on the street. A couple of times I'd have a fight with my mother or something and I'd have to come down here because I thought it'd be too late to go to the refuge.
I thought it was just another community project where they were telling you how bad the area was so the government would give them a grant and stuff. Well, that was the first impression I had was, yeah, rightio, I'm going to be used up here. All right. I thought that I would give you the opportunity to see where it was that I used to sleep a long time ago when I was about 12, 13. I was in the city because of a number of reasons on the streets. It wasn't really explained to me at the time, but only that we were going to learn how to do different things like camera and boom and things like that. And for the day I ended up being the boom boom girl.
Oh, God. Okay, here we go. This is the elevator.
Hi, me. This is where the homeless come to get a feed. To sit down and watch yourself on screen is just amazing, it really is.
And you love it, don't you?
Oh, I do. There's something really hopeful about seeing yourself do something that somebody else actually is interested in. A lot of McDonald's in the city now will kick the person out if they don't look clean enough. Myself and other streeties or homeless people called this the hot bricks. And sitting down and learning how to edit it and, you know, and that stuns me sometimes is that a lot of it's put into my hands about the footage and what goes on show and what we do next and things like that, whereas most things are just written and, look, you do this and we'll do that and that's the end of it. We don't know what really to think of social people. Social people don't really know what to think of antisocial people, you know? What do you mean social people? Well, I don't know, the people that are walking past me right now, you know, are social people. They go out, they talk to each other, they gossip, they have parties, they do whatever. I couldn't possibly do those things in my life. Even though I'm pretty outgoing, it's just not my type of world.
There's no amount of preparation for when you do see yourself and what you've been through and what you've talked about. I remember when I first came down here, I thought I'm going to see some of the past interviews and stuff, and I thought, all right, I'll be right, you know. I know what I've said, I know what I've done. But then when you actually watch it, it's smack bang in your face.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. I spent most of my time thinking, and a lot of the time I was crying and stuff, because, I don't know, I just didn't know what was going on, so I was just messed up, didn't know what to do. And that's when I started, like, yeah, getting into suicide and stuff.
They're memories that you don't want to bring back up, but you know you have to, because they're always going to be with you no matter what. Like, you can't get rid of memories like that.
Well, what did happen then?
Oh, well, I was abused by a neighbour down the road from me and stuff. And it's the scariest fucking moment I've ever had in my life. No. But it's just, I just went home and had a bath and I was right, you know, and it mind fucks you, like, more than anything, but yeah, so that's basically that story. But I think the bad things were so bad that it just overwhelmed the senses, you know. Because there was a long time where I couldn't say anything to anyone. So when I finally built up the courage to talk about it, I was really proud of myself. My goal is to become a better person and to find my own inner peace. Now I'm just going to burn some incense, grow some dreads, eat some rice.
I think that might be it. What do you reckon?
Another thing that really affected me actually was watching other people's stories,
Yeah.
other people's little stories and interviews and different things. Really affected me because you do feel like you're the only one that's going through these particular things.
I just feel like my whole world's tumbling, and there's just no way to get up from that position on the ground.
You never knew if he was gonna come home to just like a normal family, like if it was everything was gonna be happy, or whether my stepfather would be drunk and violent, and my mum would have a bleeding nose or whatever.
Started doing robberies, and like we did a couple that day, the first day, and as going on it got like a few more and a few more. And, like,
it's just that I just don't want my kids to end up like the way that I ended up.
The early part of my childhood, yeah, it was really, really good. I loved it. Like, you know, so that's probably the best part, just thinking back to when we were all together. Even though sort of had a lot of family issues, like my father had a mental illness.
Because I never been to school, I never been out of home, I never made any friends. So yeah, I don't have any friend in Afghanistan.
Because if you just sit there and you're always thinking, Omid, that no one else will ever understand, it can be really dangerous. It can send you into your own little world, and yeah.
how I got involved was I was under juvenile justice supervision, and to keep me on the straight and narrow, they wanted to hook me up with a mentor. And I met the mentor they hooked me up with, and he sort of kept in contact with me to find out what I wanted to do, and acting was one of the things I really wanted to do. And so as soon as this opportunity at Big Heart came up, he got in contact with me, told me, and yeah, asked me if I wanted to do it, and I thought, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And I come down, met you, met Phil Crawford, met Rachel Ward. Well, we all sat down in this room, this big room, and we all just sort of discussed what we wanted to do in the film, and because we didn't know what film was like, we didn't know what story writing was like, we didn't know what acting was like, we didn't done it before, so we just chilled, sat back and just, let it come. Yeah, that sounded good,
Yeah, Sergeant, Chief, what do you ask? What do you call? No. Everybody sits around and does a waiting.
Well,
you guys got in contact with our school and said that told my principal that that she could pick a couple of people. At first, when she asked me if I'd like to be a part of it, I was just a bit unsure. And then, finally, about a week later, I went up and I said, "Oh, actually, I'd like to be a part of it." And then she gave me your phone number.
Completely believed you. That's right. That's the idea.
Well, I remember I was a bit lost. It's like I didn't know everyone. And for me, it takes me a bit to interact with new groups when I don't know them. And when they were asking for ideas and stuff, I was really quiet. Everyone else was giving ideas.
Excellent. All right.
Can we go back to our...
Yeah.
You got a little bit more? A couple more scenes?
Yeah. A couple more things.
A couple more stories.
All right, we've got the little one here that...
Boz, who's my little brother, and he didn't want to sort of go anywhere by himself, so I went with him. And I don't know, just got sucked in from hanging around.
Okay, we're going to do it rehearsal.
I didn't want to get in front of the camera. I just, that's not my sort of thing. I'll leave the acting up to Boz.
Do it one more time.
That's his little forte.
You're just a redneck monster.
Sort of went along to do a bit of sound and stuff. And then I suppose after I talked to Kylie a little bit, Kylie was like our youth mentor. She'd already been involved with Big Art, sort of in front of the camera, being the youth, and she was sort of there to make us feel more comfortable, I suppose. She's made me realise that I had a story, which I didn't really think that I had to begin with. So she just sort of, made me realise that I sort of had some interesting stuff to sort of talk to other people about. Now I'm going to fall. It's all right, mate. I suppose it knocks me around a bit because I don't talk about it ever. And it was like relief to let it out. I don't know. So Mum used to think that we all needed some sort of male influence. So she let us go for these, like a weekend with a family friend. And it was typical child molesting status. He'd spoil you rotten so that you come back. And Boz came home from his holiday and was acting up and stuff. He just wouldn't settle down, wouldn't go to school properly, and just... Boz was sent to his bedroom for doing something naughty. And I went in to have a chat with him. And he...
I had the rope tied around my neck really tight, and I ended up passing out because of the blood getting trapped in my head. And as I fell off the windowsill, I smashed my nose against the hit my nose against the bed.
I don't know anymore if he really was trying to kill himself or if he was just trying to scare us. But I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop seeing him. I still see him. I can't look at him. And I still keep thinking if I could have done something.
It would have to be the worst thing I've ever done.
There's never an appropriate time to really talk about that sort of stuff. feels like for other people to know it gives them an opening into my vulnerable sort of spot where I try and keep a sort of a tough cover on just so people can't hurt me. I probably would have had second thoughts about doing it, but we're in a rush. So it was like no time to sort of back out. I just did it, and I mean, I don't know, because I'm not sort of talky, like, about that sort of stuff. I'll talk about stuff that sort of doesn't really matter, and she sort of just got it all out of me, which was sort of surprised me, yeah. And then, I don't know, I was a bit, I don't know, didn't want to see myself on telly. I was a bit embarrassed, sort of thing. But, yeah.
I just want people to see, like, how, like, before I done this and, like, how I fucked up, but I just want to see people, like, to see how far I have come, you know? I was a little whinger. A little sook, whinged about everything.
I think Boz gave us a few headaches in that film too.
Oh, more than a few, I think.
2 weeks it took us to make that film, and yeah.
I'm surprised Rachel wasn't bald by the time we left.
I definitely was. I had hair before we started.
Just do it for rehearsal one day. Camera! Action! Hurry up! They've gone.
Yeah, they're all rough.
Is that what you might say? They're all bluff? Is that something you might say?
They're all full of shit.
Yeah, they're all full of shit. That's better, okay.
Are you really on that coon side?
Don't say coon, boys.
I didn't say it. Troy said it.
Yeah, well, I'm not on anyone's side. Just telling a fact that people don't want to hear.
If they don't want to hear it, why do you say it?
I don't know. I had like family and friends, like, you know, cast crew, family, friends, you know, come to the launch of the film that we done in Lismore, and to sit there and see yourself for the first time on the big screen, it's like, what? You know, it's a spin out. Seeing yourself for the first time on the big screen, it's just so spun out. And it's just like, you know, I really like what I'd done. I'd done a better job than what I thought I did, you know? So I'm hoping that's the last time I see myself on the big screen.
Left, right, left. Elbows in. 2, 1.
Oi! Go and get your brother.
With my story, you know, there is a couple other people included in my story, so that's why I prefer not to talk about my story to the whole of Australia or to other countries if they see it. I prefer not to talk about my story for a few more years until I can sit down with a couple other people and talk about it. Then, you know, I just prefer people to see the acting I've done and just realise, you know, that something has happened in my life, but I don't want them to know. You know, if they look in there and say, what's happened with his life, you know, there's no story about him, you know, it's not like I don't have a story. Everyone out there's got a story to tell. You know, it's just mine's a bit more complicated to talk about at the moment. There are people out there that can talk about it, there are people out there that can't, and just at the moment, I've got just respect towards my family and towards other people. I just don't want to talk about that sort of stuff at the moment.
Go straight into it. That's it. Now we'll start again.
It's always
to the camera, mate.
You looking at my face? Yes, boy, just talking.
But when he gets up to that school, I don't know, something happens. He just messes up and comes home and gets suspended. But they got to hear two sides of a story. That's what I always say. There's always two sides to a story. I'm glad that he's doing this, keeping out of trouble. He's my
You know, because you got stories that you do tell people, and there's other little stories that you tell your mates, but there's stories that you keep to yourself, you know, and that's them special stories. And that's what Butter Wayne's story is.
Quiet, please. Rolling. Good ready, Kaz. Action.
When I was 6 there, my dad passed away, and then I found him there, and then my mum, she was on the outside there crying, and I was saying, what happened, what happened? She pointed in the house. I went in there, found my old man laying on the ground. I'm saying, Dad, I love you, and I hope you come and see me when I'm asleep. And he always sit by my bed, and he talks to me while I'm asleep, and I can hear him, but I don't wake up.
About 4 or 5. Ever since then, he's just, you know, I think he's lost without him.
And, you know, there's so many other yarns that keep young people like Brother Wayne locked up. You know, and it's a matter of trying to get them to let it out.
Like everybody walks up to me and says that they're very proud of him, and he hasn't been in trouble or nothing, and I'm proud of him. I'm just so proud. But I do wish his dad was there. You know, but I don't know.
By putting your story, the story about what happened to you and what happened to your dad and what your mum says about it as well, into this TV show, how do you think other people will feel when they watch it?
Well, I know people will probably feel guilty and things like that, and probably just watching out for their family and people who watches my film. Tears come out in their eyes. People come up to me and say, oh, he made a good movie, Wayne. I say, yeah, I said, all right. But I see a lot of white fellas coming up and saying, you're that little fella in that movie, and I say, yeah. And they used to sit down and just tell me what's going down in their place, and I tell them what's going on with my future and that.